Good morning. It's good to be with you on this Friday morning. Hope you are doing well today. It's good to you can tell I've got a little bit different format. I'll confess I've been lazy this week. I haven't been using my iPhone setup. I've just been recording straight from my computer. I do have my mic though. Hopefully it helps me sound a little better. A little better is a relative term. Hopefully it helps you hear me more clearly. I don't know if I sound any better. So today we're going on this Friday, we're going to be finishing, we're not finishing, starting John 13. We're going to be reading John 13, 1 through 20. This is a very famous passage, as much of John is, and we're going to unpack a really, really well-known passage. Let's read John 13, 1 through 20. Now, before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already put it into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And near the supper, Jesus, knowing the Father had given all things into his hands, that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus answered him, You do not know what I'm doing, but later you will understand. Peter said to him, You will never wash my feet. Jesus said, Unless I wash you, you have no share in me. Simon said to him, Lord, not only my feet, but also my hands and my head. Jesus said, one who has bathed does not need to wash except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you. For he knew who was about to betray him. For this reason he said, Not all of you are clean. After he had washed their feet, he put on his robe and returned to the table. And he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your teacher and Lord, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I've set for you an example, that you should do as I have done to you. Very truly I tell you, very truly I tell you, servants are not greater than their masters, and masters are not greater than the ones who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed to do them. I am not speaking to all of you. I know whom I have chosen. But this is to fulfill the scripture. The one who ate my bread has lifted his heel against me. And I tell this to you now before it occurs, so that when it does occur, you may believe that I am he. Very truly I tell you, whoever receives me, receives the one who I send, receives me. Whoever receives me, receives him who sent me. Okay. So let's talk about what's happening here with the washing of the feet. Very interesting passage, very interesting concept for us to hear. First, Peter's answer is interesting. Um, Peter says, when Jesus goes to wash his feet, he says, no, no. First off, you're not going to wash my feet. Um, Couple reasons, and I think the main reason why Peter doesn't want to have Jesus wash his feet is Jesus is his master, and washing feet is humbling. It's humbling in our world and in our context, but it was especially humbling in that world, in that context. I mean, it was the job of the servant. It was a menial, demeaning task to wash the feet of anyone. It was a it was a menial task to do this, and you didn't want to do it. It was embarrassing. It was beneath you. It was not something you wanted to do. Think cleaning the toilets. I mean, think something that you just don't want to do. So Peter didn't want his Lord to do it for a couple reasons. First, it's just awkward in many ways. But greater than that, if as Jesus says here, the servant's not greater than the master. And you called me Lord. That's right, that's what I am. So when Jesus says that, um, when Jesus washes their feet, that means he is showing the disciples that they're going to have to wash others' feet as well. They're going to have to wash feet themselves, and they don't want to do that. That is That's a difficult, like I said, a difficult menial task that they didn't want to do. They didn't really want to wash feet. No one really wants to wash feet. So when Jesus washes their feet, that's saying to them, guess what, guys? If you're going to follow after me, if you're going to have a share of my kingdom, you're going to have to wash feet. And they didn't want to do it. And I understand. I don't blame them. It's not something that you want to do. It's hard. So that's one of the reasons why Peter rejected Jesus first saying, no, not wash my feet. Because he knew that this was going to mean he was going to do it. So just some background here. When he says to when Jesus says, "Well, then you'll have no share of me," Peter said, "Well, then not just my feet, wash all of me." And Jesus says, "You've already had a bath." Okay, what he's talking about there is there's a ritual ceremonial bath that they do in that part of the world. They call it a mikvah bath. A mikvah bath was a ceremonial washing that a religious Jew would do before ceremonies and important things, where they would. I mean, it's almost they still have remains of them all over Israel. The best way to picture it is picture it like a deep walk-in swimming pool where they would walk in, there would be water there, and they would walk in and they would wash themselves. It was not soap and water scrubbing behind your ears, but it was a ceremonial washing. Remember, there's a lot of symbolism in that culture about washing hands and things like that. Remember Pilate, when he gives Jesus over, he washes his hands of him. So in this moment, in this Jewish mikvah bath, all the disciples, Jesus, would have done a mikvah bath. They would have been ritually or ceremonially cleaned or cleansed before the meal. So that's what Peter says when he says, "I've already washed all of me." And Jesus said, "No, you've already been washed. You have followed the law." So this was what he was talking about. And so um one of my yes, I've seen this slogan around on t-shirts and on various places. It's hard to throw stones when you're washing feet. Washing feet is a really challenging thing. It's a hard thing. It's a demeaning thing. It's also washing feet is hard because it's difficult for the person who is washing feet. It's also challenging for the one who's having their feet washed. Because in some ways we don't want to serve. We also don't really want people serving us in some ways. We don't really want the intimacy that washing feet gives and implies. It is a intimate thing. It is a service thing, and it's hard. So Peter was uneasy about the fact that Jesus was washing his feet. That's challenging when your master is washing your feet. And Peter was also uneasy because that meant he was going to go wash somebody else's feet. Um, but washing feet, as challenging as it may be or feel, as hard as it may be or feel, it is it's also kind of our way back to serve others, to serve the world. We live in a world where a lot of folk don't really want to hear from us as Christians. You know, one of the ways that we get back to people listening to us is to serve. In fact, one of the surest ways to heal your marriage, if your marriage is broken, one of the surest ways to heal any relationship that's broken is to serve. When you serve someone, it shows the person that you are serving that you love them. And when you serve someone, it makes you love the person you're serving. When you serve someone, you sometimes see this person at their worst, and you serve them anyway. And that act of service is powerful, y'all. And I really do think that the way that we right size the world, the way that we restore things, the way that we restore relationships, the way that we restore many things in life is going to be through service. When we serve others, things change. When we serve others, things change in them and things change in us. And so I would encourage you today, whose feet can you wash? Maybe metaphorically, maybe literally. Whose feet can you wash? I would encourage you, and I would challenge you to spend some time today washing feet. And I can promise you when you do that, things will change. Things will change inside of you, and they'll change inside of them. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Today we're next Monday we're going to pick up with uh John 13. So John 13 verse 21. So we'll pick up there on Monday morning. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday. Bye.